What it do? Welcome to the J-Boy Sports Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you don't love the content, you can still do those things because you could always help a brother out, and a brother would always help you out. Make sure, all right, definitely, make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our glorious content. Make sure that you comment because I will reply. Ball is life. And make sure you hang on towards the end of this video to catch some of our suggested videos that we know you will love. With that said, there's been a lot of Kobe talk, and I'm a little bit late on this one. I've just been kind of busy trying to get some other stuff together, but I wanted to make sure I do my due diligence and have this conversation. Shaquille O'Neal is, you could argue Shaquille O'Neal is my second favorite player of all time. Obviously, my first is Kobe. But with Shaq, you know, I have a lot of love for Shaq. I have a lot of respect for things that Shaq has done. Shaq has a tendency to exaggerate sometimes, and Shaq also has a tendency to be petty, and he knows that. You know what I mean? I don't feel bad for saying that. Shaq, when he feels slighted, gets petty, and that's ultimately why part of him and Kobe Bryant's relationship got rocky at times. I mean, Kobe's was not easy to deal with either. I'm sure Kobe was, you know, not nice about things and very straightforward, very hard on, and, you know, Shaq could probably, you know, twist Kobe Bryant into a pretzel in his prime, as strong as he was. But Kobe never backed down. You know, he was like, you're going to have to kill me, but this is how we're going to do it. And so you have to respect Kobe on his end. You also have to respect Shaq on his end because he's also an alpha. You know what I mean? And so they had some beefs here and there, but ultimately I think they were brothers. I think they were friends. I think they loved each other. Shaq's kids especially loved Kobe, loved him. You know what I mean? And I know Shaq loved Kobe, and I know Kobe loved Shaq, even though, you know, they had rocky relationships at times. But Shaq can get petty, and with all the Kobe slander, people pulled Shaq into that. And Shaq, you know, because he's a big guy, he's huge, he'll kill you, like dead up. As big as he is, he could probably rip you a new one easily. But inside of him is a gentle giant. I think he's a softie deep down, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to Shaq. I just think he's a softie inside. He's a sensitive guy. He likes to joke, play around, have fun. He's not the warrior that Kobe Bryant was. And if you think I'm lying, there's a clip of Kenyon Martin saying on the Gills Arena that we're lucky Shaq was nice. She said Shaq could have been a lot meaner. You understand what I'm saying? And I think somebody has said that one time, I think it was Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson said he tried to foul Shaq, and Shaq just took him with him on a dunk, and it was an and one. And Kobe looked at him and said, yo, are you crazy? You trying to die? Because, you know, they're lucky Shaq's a nice guy. Shaq used to I think Richard Jefferson tried to block Shaq's dunk, and Shaq said to him, listen, I went light on you this time, but next time, if you put your hand up there again, I'm going to break it. I'm going to slam your whole hand in the rim. And he was like, noted. You know what I mean? So, to what Kenyon Martin said, Shaq could have been a lot meaner. You know what I mean? But he wasn't. He was a nice guy. So, and he's a fairly nice guy. At times he was mean. But going back to this thing with him and Kobe, people started saying, oh, you know, Shaq needed Kobe to win. He didn't win with Penny. He only won one with Wade. Blah, blah, blah. Couldn't have won with Vince. Couldn't have, you know, T-Mac. T-Mac said, I could have won with Shaq. And people were like, nah, it couldn't happen. And Shaq probably felt the way. He was like, yo, y'all are slighting me. You don't think I was that? I was that. And while Shaq is right that he was that, there were certain things, in my opinion, that Kobe helped bring even out of Shaq. You know what I mean? And I'm sure Shaq brought some things out of Kobe too, because, you know, he put the pressure on him as well. And he put his hand around him, like he mentioned at Utah when he airballed those shots. So Shaq and Kobe helped each other. But there is an element to Shaq that, you know, you got to be able to meet him and get him on the right page, you know. And I think that that's what goes untouched when we talk about Kobe. But, you know, Shaq was on the big podcast, a good podcast. I like it. Having a conversation with the Morris twins. And, you know, he asked them, you think I could win with T-Mac? And so let's listen to what their response is, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that.
T-Mac made a statement the other day, and I'm going to answer if you guys answer. He said, if you switch him and Kobe out, as far as playing with me, the outcome is the same. You agree or disagree?
No, you're not just saying you switching out with Kobe and you're gonna be what Kobe was. That's not. You make nothing away from T-Mac.
Great player.
Oh, you not Kobe.
Yeah.
And that mentality too.
I might have to disagree.
I don't know though. You know what my difference mine is though, big fella, is the mentality. Like that killer mentality, everybody didn't have that. Like he was a great player, don't get me wrong. But it was times that Mike and Kobe, I felt like that Mike gave Kobe something that nobody else would be able to even imitate and be able to like have that mentality. A lot of players no other players had it, really.
I agree with you saying, but you don't think I could have won 3 with T-Mac? I think I could have.
So that's Shaq talking to the Morris twins, and I thought that was a good discussion, and I felt like it was a good idea to bring that up. I agree with everything that they said, and again, some people may take this, oh, Shaq's betraying Kobe. I don't think he's betraying Kobe. I think Shaq, like I said, is a sensitive guy inside. People are doubting him, and he said, hold on a second, I know who I was too. And so he's being a little bit sensitive, a little bit petty, and he's like, yo, I think I could have won. Now, you know, the Morris twins, they're saying, whoa, hold on. Like, no, you don't just replace Kobe. And I'm happy that they said that because we gotta keep our heads about us, right? And they were man enough to say that to Shaq. I can't deny that they're real ones. I got to give them that. They are real ones. And Charles Barkley always said, I do not want to fight those boys. Those are 2 boys I wouldn't want to fight. They're keeping it real. Even to Shaq, they're telling him the truth. So I got to respect that. Shout out to one of them, you know, got in some legal trouble, but it looks like it was through gambling. And again, that's why I don't gamble, man. That's why I don't gamble. Gilbert Arenas got in trouble for gambling. One of the Morris twins got in trouble for gambling. And do I think they're criminals? No. I don't think they're criminals. But at the end of the day, gambling puts you in some criminal activity, man. It get caught up. And I know a lot of people do it, but just watch yourself, man. Be careful. You know, from a biblical perspective, I'm staying away from it. If you're not on that type of time, just be careful, man. Be careful, because it can happen to you, you know? And you could lose a lot of money. So on the financial side, it could suck. You know what I mean? But, you know, he kept it real. He said, you don't just switch out Kobe, and part of it is just, you know, the mentality. And, you know, you got to understand the mentality. Kobe had a drive that most people just don't. And somebody, Mel from Man Down Sports, did this whole thing discussing why he felt like T-Mac would have struggled with Shaq, or somebody else for that matter. And that's the truth. Shaq is a happy-go-lucky, play around, it's not that serious type guy until it is that serious. Wait until the last minute to get himself in shape. Respectfully, Shaq, you know you did that. Wait until the last minute to get himself in shape. He was so good that he didn't take things as serious all the time. But you have to have somebody next to you that's hyper-focused to shape everything, to push you. Kobe made Shaq so angry that I think it made him play better. I'm going to be honest with you. It made him get in better shape at times. It made him come to practice and play hard. Because, you know, he got tired of, you know, Kobe was on his butt. Kobe be like, I'm not passing to you. Kobe be like, I could do it myself. All that stuff probably pissed Shaq off and made him a better player. Is T-Mac going to come in and do that? And this is what Mel from Man Down Sports said, and it's a good point. Is T-Mac going to come in and have that same mentality? I think T-Mac is a strong guy, strong mentality, but he's not that. And Kobe's bringing it on offense and defense. He's bringing it in practice. He cared about practice. He literally has a whole video of him talking to his teammates like, yo, I came here to get better. Y'all making me worse. I can't get better with this. Remember, what's Michael Blackson? I can't get jiggy with this, right? Kobe's like, I can't get jiggy with this. It's not helping me. All of that mentality, you don't just transfer that to another, from one person to another. If it was that simple, we'd see more of it. You got to sacrifice a lot to be that way. You know what I mean? And he did. So ultimately, we cannot sit here and say that, oh, like, T-Mac's going to be that. Or, you know, they also, Shaq did another thing where he had mentioned, what if I had Allen Iverson? What if I had Vince Carter? Again, no. You know, Vince is very laid back. Vince is a nice guy. And that honestly is probably why Vince didn't end up being on the level of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And even T-Mac was, and Allen Iverson probably achieved a little more. Well, Vince achieved more than T-Mac, but some people think T-Mac was better. So, I mean, it's a toss-up. But, you know, if Vince was a little meaner, cared a little bit more about defense, he could have been in these GOAT categories. But all these guys are elite. But what separated Kobe. Kobe actually separated himself from these people. You understand what I'm saying? Not LeBron James. And I know some of you, why you bring it? Listen, because what LeBron did was him and Melo, for example, were equal. Now, LeBron got to the finals in the East because the East sucks. And Melo had to deal with Kobe and Tim Duncan and Dirk and KG and all these other great teams, the Mavericks. I already mentioned Dirk. What am I doing? The Suns. He had to deal with all these boys. But LeBron didn't have to go through all those teams. So he got there. He basically beat a bunch of 41-win teams. 41-win teams to get to the finals. And so he got there. You give him that. But, him and Melo were neck and neck, man. Melo was like that. Now, when LeBron went to the Heat super team, it changed everything. All of a sudden, LeBron's career went up. Melo's was still okay, but they considered LeBron to be much better than Melo. But was he really, or was he just on a super team? So the super team helped him to separate himself. Melo was playing essentially with, I think even Amari Stoudemire was banged up at that time. It was not the same Amari. But essentially he's playing, he has some talent, but it wasn't that level of talent. And LeBron is playing with Wade and Bosh. How's that fair? So was he really better than LeBron? Was he really better than Melo? Or was he just playing on a team that was much better than Melo's team, which is what I tend to believe. So if we're going to sit here and do that, Kobe actually separated himself. Now, yes, he had Shaq, but Vince had Jason Kidd at one point. TMac had Yao Ming in that squad at one point. He just got hurt, and it is what it is. I can't control health. Nobody can. Only God can control that. And AI, he ended up with Melo too. He ended up with Melo too. And Melo, they didn't win anything. They couldn't beat Kobe. They struggled to beat Kobe. So at the end of the day, if we're gonna sit here and try to play this game of, they're all equal. It's not. Kobe separated himself, and he did it without using super teams. And I think that that's drastically underplayed. You have to look at how he was able to separate himself. And nobody ever gives him credit for how he was able to do it. But, he did what he had to do, and he separated himself. So at the end of the day, you can't just replace Kobe Bryant. And the Morris twins admitted that. They know that. It's not just something that you just do off the cuff. Kobe was elite. He was like that. And you don't just become Kobe Bryant. As good as some of these other people are and were, you don't just become Kobe. Kobe was a lot, and his character, that's really what makes the difference between him. I think Byron Scott even said, and I'll do a video on this at some point. I forgot to do the video, but he even said Kobe Bryant was probably not the most talented between TMac, Vince, AI. They may have been more talented, raw talent, but nobody worked like Kobe, and nobody had his mentality. So if that's what we're talking about, you don't just transfer that, because Shaq had Penny Hardaway. He had Dwayne Wade, won a championship with Dwayne, but did not repeat. Even though he's a little older, they still did not repeat. So, let's keep it a buck, man. So for me personally, I'd say as well, you don't just trade Kobe Bryant. You're not just going to trade him and then Shaq all of a sudden is going to win. And respectfully, once again, I love you, Big Cactus, Big Shactus, Diesel. I love you, big fella. But respectfully, you were swept 6 times, which is the most all time for a star player. And that leads me to believe that I do think you could get one with Allen Iverson or T-Mac or Vince. Maybe 2. Strong maybe. But there's no way you three-peat, my brother. There's no way. Not even close. Not even close. And I really don't think you win more than 1. And again, it's not because you're not great, Shaq. It's just because Kobe brought not only the skill set, but the mentality that I know even pissed you off, big fella. and made you better because you didn't want to have to admit that he was as good as he was. That's ultimately, you admitted it. Like, money and stuff like that broke up your relationship. And I'm sure Kobe pissed you off, like I said. But, you know, I think you get 1. I don't know about 2, and I definitely don't believe in 3. So with that said, wasn't trying to take a shot at Shaq, just trying to, you know, I'm basically saying the same thing the Morris twins are saying. But I truly appreciate Shaq. I love Shaq. So I don't want him to think that I don't appreciate him. With that said, please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you share the content. We're putting out hot stuff. I know you'll love it. Also, you want to make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our glorious content. You also need to make sure that you comment because I will reply. Ball is life. Hang on towards the end of this video so you can catch some of our other suggested videos that we know you'll love. I truly appreciate your time. I'm very humble. Much love. That somehow you'll never get over leaving me. And when you feel like